Welcome to Deadlitter Emissions, where we talk about everything heavy, underground, horror, and such. Tonight we have a very special guest on. You guys probably know him from the previous podcast, but we tried interviewing him, and it did not work out. We tried using Skype, so we're back to Zoom. How you doing, Markisan?
I'm doing good. You know, you didn't have to admit any of that.
No, I know. I thought the same thing. Like, okay, well.
It's okay. We've been a little behind on releasing stuff. Next couple days we'll have, the last one we did together. But how have things been? I saw you just got your second shot today.
Yes, I got it a couple days ago. So yeah, I'm vaccinated. I got to wait 2 weeks for it to take full effect. But yeah, it's pretty exciting.
So right
One
now
step
you're
closer to hugging people.
Yeah.
Right? Oh my God. I don't know if we've discussed this before. I'm sure I've mentioned it because we've talked many times, but I want to hug people so bad. It's in my fucking nature to touch people. And the oddness of bumping into somebody in the grocery store and just being like, oh, it's so awkward for me because it's just naturally, it's natural for me to reach out and like, touch somebody or hug somebody. So it's awkward for me because when I bump into somebody that I know at the grocery store or wherever else, my natural reaction is to go in for the love, and I'm like,
Right.
But so it's
And
odd.
then you find out that they don't know her at all, and they're just weirded out.
Have you guys gotten
I'll
vaccinated?
hug a motherfucker. No, we haven't yet. We need to get on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids actually just went back to school April 5th. We've kept them home this entire time. And one of the biggest reasons that we kept him home is because his parents are a big part of our children's lives. And they have very terrible health. And so we had the ability to put him in school like half days here and there and like a hybrid. But because his parents' health is so fragile, we were just like, you know what, we're going to keep him home. So they finally got their first vaccination.
Yeah, they're going this coming week.
Yeah,
so
it was about
the
2 weeks
one.
ago. And she said that the first vaccination was like 80% effective. And then 2 weeks later, they get another one. And then that one is like 99.9 or whatever. So,
Yeah, supercharges it. Yep.
yeah. So we're kind of going there. Steve and I need to get on the list.
Yeah, it's been kind of a slow drag for us because we don't go anywhere or do anything. Like it's been months
really
to where
it's not a month. It's been a year.
Yeah. Well, ironically, we live in Woodstock, Illinois, where they filmed Groundhog's Day.
And,
have you seen that movie?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
I just read an interview with Bill Murray actually talking about all those different projects. So it was really interesting and how he got along with different co-workers and how he came to work with Wes Anderson. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, so it was kind of an interesting
No,
read.
he doesn't. He actually was it must have been 2 years ago. I think it was actually right before COVID hit. I think it was Chevy did.
Yeah, they did like a return to Groundhog's Day commercial.
Yeah, and they did it on the square.
Right before COVID, but yeah.
Right before COVID.
And they had all the same actors and everything.
Yeah.
And that's only like 2.5 blocks from us.
It was just a commercial, but he went into all the little shops on the square, when he had coffee with the regulars and the people of Woodstock and it was a big thing. Well, Groundhog Day over here is a huge thing.
Yeah, like all the shops and like people bumper stickers on cars out here, everything is Bill Murray, dude. It's like
I think he has his face painted in LA.
Yeah, there's a mural.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's a tourist attraction. So like all the houses are on the square that they filmed the movie in. So
well, do you remember that bed and breakfast that he stayed in?
Yeah, that's just
that place is like it's a star place. People come for that reason. And it's like
I love Bill Murray. I just watched The Dead Don't Die. That was a weird ass movie. So Jim Jarmusch did it. He did Broken Flowers.
I love Jim Jarmusch.
I haven't seen it.
Dead Man with Johnny Depp's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh yeah, he did Dead Man. That's right.
I do love
and Ghost Dog.
Yeah,
So
the
yeah, so I
soundtrack
just saw
for
Bill
that man
Murray.
is sick, man. That's a great
Yeah, it's all
soundtrack.
Neil Young guitar. It's
Yeah.
only guitar and Neil Young. It's great.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's
so
one
I
of the,
saw that, and I love Lost in Translation. It's one of my all-time favorite
yeah,
Oh,
movies.
that's naturally.
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I think that was right around the time Neil Young had to like break that record contract, and I know like he was trying to get out of it. And he put out that one album. I don't know what something Rust or like to say fuck you to the record labels. He just put out an album full of like putting his guitar in front of the amp and just recording feedback.
Right.
Like,
Progressive.
yeah. So he inadvertently put out a Sonic Youth album.
Really?
No, I'm just
Oh,
yeah. It's
I see what you mean.
but
We actually watched a movie the other day that Steven had put me up to, and it was called Hunter x Hunter,
I
and
haven't heard of that.
it was really fucking good. And most of it, it took me like 4.5 hours to watch it because we had his brother in town, and whenever his brother comes into town, he doesn't have a wife or anything, so I always just cook like a shit ton. Every day he's here, I just make huge meals. So I had this show or this movie on my phone, and I would start like getting caught up in cooking and dishes, and I'd be like, shit, I have to go back. So it took me a really long time to watch this movie. And then it was kind of like one of those slow burn movies. And at the very end of the movie, there's this fucking song. And the way that the end of the movie happened with the song that played, it was just,
it was like the perfect song, kind of like at the end of Fight Club when Pixies start playing.
oh,
Oh yeah.
dude,
Hmm.
it was
You know what I mean?
incredible. Now I'm
What's the band
obsessed.
called? Uh,
Oh my God, it's called Murder and Dust, I think.
yeah,
Through Murder and
something
Dust.
like
I'll
that.
look it up real
They're
quick.
like a Swedish
It's
shoegaze type
really,
thing, but it's good.
but
It's
it's
good.
heavy.
Yeah, I actually got the info on that from Mike Hill. I don't know if he he just got rid of Metalheads or Metal Matters podcast. Gave it to a couple other guys he's friends with. So he does Everything Went Black and he does Necromaniacs, which they pretty much deep dive like a classic or new horror movie that they respect. And it's him and one of the guys from ISIS and
Hmm.
there's another guy, but yeah, he talked about that movie, so I just kind of checked it out, but it's a good podcast for anyone that hasn't.
And it's
Wait,
an
he
incredible.
stopped doing Metal Matters?
Yeah, I know Metal Matters was within the gimme radio realm,
Oh
which
right.
I subscribe to, but I think he from what he said on his podcast, it like he likes a lot of like indie goth dark wave kind of things, and it was hard to bring up important albums in such a limiting you know sphere of it has to be metal you know
Mm.
so I think he wanted to talk about like Public Enemy records and stuff like that, so he's just kind of doing his own thing, but
Well, he did a lot of episodes of Metal Matters, so
he did, yeah. I think
do
it
something
was,
different, change it up. It's cool.
yeah, change it up, man. So what's going on in the Metalheads podcast fair? And for the listeners that don't know, which I'm sure if you listen, you do, because um, I think collectively we've had you guys on 6 or 7 episodes now. At least one of you. I know your last episode you had Face on. Have you recorded anything since, or is that coming up this weekend?
Uh, no, we as soon as we record, George puts it up within days. So I write the description and then he just puts it up. So we
I
usually
haven't even
record
watched
on
that yet. I haven't even watched it yet
Well,
or listened to it yet.
you guys are on YouTube now, but it's still audio.
Mhm. Yeah,
If
George
you,
has the video, but he just hasn't gotten around to editing the videos yet because he likes to spend a lot of time on it, and it would be a colossal amount of work for him to do the videos, just to do new ones, but also to do all the old ones.
oh, it'd be so slick. George is so particular. Like everything would be like perfect. I think the editing
I
would
love
be
George. Who was the only one that we haven't had on yet, though?
well. We haven't
Uh,
had Jay on, um,
Matt,
Matt or
John.
John.
oh God, there's 3 extras
Yeah,
or 3 more. I
John
should say,
is
not extras, but
Yeah.
like the guy that's more into like Fate's Warning kind of stuff. Seems like Jay's a huge Iron Maiden Dio kind of guy. He plays in let me see if I can remember his band name. God, I feel so dumb. I actually downloaded whatever was available.
I'm not going to
But yeah,
tell you.
come on.
my brother,
Hey, give me the first word.
he's not going to do it. Look at his mouth. He's biting his
You
tongue.
don't know. You have to do your research.
Catatonic Society.
You got it. Good job.
Oh,
See, I knew you could do
damn.
it. Yeah, Jay's a great guitar player, and he sings in that band too. And Jay likes all kinds of different music, but he does really like a lot of like traditional metal. He likes,
Yeah.
I mean, he likes all kinds, black metal, death. I mean, he's all over the map. John really likes progressive metal, but again, he likes all different styles. So it's not like he's just pigeonholed into one spot, but he'll go into more of the progressive realm than most of us.
Right. And then Matt is more of the underground black metal.
Yeah. Matt is just, his soul's completely black.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I've never even met
That's
these
awesome.
other 3 characters.
Well, I had a really good time talking to him for 7 to 9 hours on the one episode that I was
I
on.
know. I started to watch that one episode or listen actually, and I was just listening while I was like cleaning and cooking and doing stuff, and I'm like, man, it kept going on, and I was like, dude, this is like, I think I got 3.5 hours in when I was like, it was all like gear talk and just I was like,
Well,
we
I
definitely
get
veer
it.
into different
Yeah, I was
categories.
like 7 hours of podcast. I'm like, okay.
yeah. What I love Metalheads Podcast, and actually George was one of the inspirations for me to try and do this again because I started a few years back, and I think I told you I'd have like live 8 camera like on Twitch, and then we had a bar and we'd interview bands,
Oh
but
no, Metalhead.
it just got way too complicated, and then
It did, but
Right.
Metalhead podcast was like his inspiration. Like when you guys said that you're gonna have him on, he was just like a little kid. He's like, "Oh my god, I'm going on Metalhead podcast." It was pretty cute.
That's cool.
That was his,
Yeah.
his thing. He listens to every single episode, probably more than once.
well, what pumped me up about Metalheads Podcast is, I always look at myself as like somebody nobody wants to talk to because all I do is listen to albums and like take mental notes and compare things. And then
It's
I'm
true.
I'm also a huge gearhead. I'm a guitar player, and I call it guitar porn. Like I wake up and I'm just like
He is always on guitar
it's an
porn.
obsession. Like I'll sleep like 3 hours a night just to make sure I listen to whatever record and see whatever amp or pedal or modification that comes out or plug in for recording. And
Yeah, it's
you
true.
you guys were the only podcast, and I remember your first episode because I listened to prior to you being on, and I was excited to have kind of like a fresh guy that lived in Chicago on the podcast
Oh
I
yeah.
listened to. But like you guys were the same kind of nerd that I was or I am, like
Mhm.
Yeah, that was.
and
Well, that's what's fun about the cast. I mean, it's just a bunch of guys who just want to sit around, drink beers, and talk about metal. And wherever the conversation goes, it goes.
I
And,
dig
and
that.
that's
The
what I
only way
like
I
about
don't fit in is gear talk. I can get in with metal talk and all that, but when he gets the gear stuff, his best friend, like they get together and
it.
like
Mhm.
nobody exists outside of the two of them, and so his friend will feel bad that I'm like getting left out, and Steven will go to the bathroom and his friend will come up and be like, "So, anyway, I got this billboard and it's 92005 59, and then if you plug it into this, then it does this," and I'm like, I know you're trying to involve me, dude. I know you're trying to make it seem like I'm not left out, but
You actually care less when he starts
yeah, like I
explaining
have
it.
Yeah.
no fucking clue what you're talking about.
Don't mansplain your guitar bits, buddy.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm with you, Maggie, because I don't play instruments, So,
Oh, I
I don't care that much about all the
I
technical
actually
aspects.
I want to be a drummer. I've wanted to play drums since I was a kid, a little kid. And so yesterday, I've been talking to this about Stephen for quite some time.
Well, and behind this curtain, I got like all amps and speaker cabinets, and there's a drum set right there.
Yeah.
There's keyboards all around. Like, um, it's a pretty good place to be. Like, if you want to divulge into,
So
the depths of.
I'm super excited about learning how to play the drums. Stephen gets me something from Amazon yesterday, and it's like the pad with the sticks, like the practice pad,
All right.
And he's sitting outside smoking, and he opens it and he's like, check this out. Look what I got you. And so I go to like give him a hug to thank him. Well, he's sitting out on our deck and it had been raining. And I take one step out my door and onto this like mildewy deck, and I broke my fucking knee and part of my ankle.
Jeez.
It was such bullshit because I was so excited. I was just trying to like run and give him a hug, and I take one step out on my slimy deck, and it just, I mean, I don't know if it's broken or not, but
Yeah, well, it was kind of crazy too,
I've
because
been
I was
having
talking to
touches.
my bass player buddy in Florida, and he was in a lot of Chicago death metal bands. You might actually know him, but so she goes flying on her ass, like, we're doing video. We walk in like hobbling with her, sit her down. My daughter, all of a sudden, just walking, flies up and crashes down on her knee.
It was like 30 seconds later.
So I
I
had,
crushed my knee. 30 seconds after, I'm like still holding my
Yeah.
leg almost in tears. Then my daughter comes hobbling in. She's holding the same knee. She fucks her knee up. And so both of us are just like sitting on the floor, like crying together. Both of
yeah.
our knees
Well,
were just
I'm video chatting my buddy, and he's like, "What the fuck is happening over there?" Like, I'm like, "Well, she just cracked her knee, and my daughter just cracked her, and they're screaming and crying." So, I had to, I had to
Wow.
cut it short.
It was
But yeah,
crazy timing.
yeah, it was weird. I don't even know if you realized that I got you that drum pad and sticks in that bag, because it immediately
Sounds like you
fell.
should have just got her a peg leg.
Yeah.
I feel like that. Yeah, I all I went to do was, because our laundry room is like, it goes right out to our back deck, and that's where Steven usually smokes. But if it's
Mhm.
cold or rainy, I I don't smoke out there. I go in the garage because why would I? And so I really didn't know the deck was wet. And as soon as I took like 2 steps out of the deck, and I was kind of going fast because I was going to hug him and kiss him and say thank you for the drum stuff, and I just spilled it, and I was just bitching about it the other day because it's always slippery. I'm like, we need to power wash this. You know what I mean? Somebody's gonna fall. And so, like, anytime it's wet or raining or like the snow melts, I'm always like walking the kids down, like, carefully. I'm like, careful, it's slippery. His parents or any guests that we have, I'm always like, be careful, the deck is slippery.
Well,
And
yeah,
then
but
I'm the one that fucking busts my goddamn ass, always looking out for everybody else, but I bust
Yeah.
my shit.
yeah, it seems like power washing would, in theory, be, the appropriate thing, but I don't know if you've ever like used a residential power washer, but it's like a toothpick stream of a million miles an hour of water. So all it does is like right on your deck. Like, if it's stained, it just like makes whatever you're doing white.
Well,
So it
there's
looks like
different.
a crazy person just took a knife and,
Well, no, there's different adapters.
yeah, we don't have
You
money
can
for
get
that.
that like
I don't.
the thick one, or you can get that flat
Welcome
one.
to Home Maintenance Podcast.
Yeah. You know that flat one that's like really wide, that adapter on the end, and then
Nobody.
it's
Yeah, no. It's not
just
something I think about.
saying. I'm just saying.
It just seems
Just
like a
saying.
lot of effort.
You guys really need to get the vaccines and get out.
Or like contemplating power washer and
I'm like scratching like a meth addict when I wake up. I don't even
Maggie
know.
doesn't want to talk about technical things when it comes to music, but power washing, oh
you know
yeah.
what? I used to do construction for like
Oh
3 years.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I did electrical work and I did
She was an
drywall.
electrician.
I did electrical work for 3 years, but we also would get side jobs.
Mhm.
So I've done, floors and carpets, some light plumbing, drywall, painting. I've done a lot of this stuff. I like that shit.
Yeah.
Electrical work is really fun and exciting, especially when you have like a new job, but it's an old house. You really have no idea if you're
Mhm.
going to get zapped.
Just don't do it on a wet deck.
Yeah, you don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
I've been zapped several times. I mean, not with like anything too strong, but I've still been zapped. It's kind of exciting.
I've been electrocuted in a car.
You
Like
did?
a
Tell me
bolt
about
of
that.
lightning hit the car. Yeah.
No way.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. In
It's
Chicago
pretty
or
crazy.
Syracuse or
It was in Chicago. It was out in the suburbs.
yeah.
I forget where it was. Schaumburg, maybe something like that. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
bolt of
Yeah,
lightning hit
I
the
went
car.
to Conan High School, so
Mhm.
But they always say to go in a car because they're rubber wheels.
Right. Yeah.
So
Didn't-
Just nuts
didn't work.
though. 'Cause, you don't expect it, but it's the only thing it
No.
could have been. It was storming
So what
pretty
happened?
good.
How did you take it? Did it like
It was just like a flash of light, and you've kind of felt a rumble, and that was it, really. But yeah, it was directly on it, and there was no lights anywhere else. Just the car lit up, and I pulled over, and somebody's like, "Oh, your car got struck by lightning." I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, at least I have that. I can say that I've been struck by lightning at least once in my life. That's pretty cool."
I did severely electrocute myself one time working in this warehouse. And I don't know if you remember in the beginning when Obama had taken over, he told everybody if they changed like their light bulbs and stuff, that you would get like
a
extra
tax credit or
yeah, you get that tax credit for like warehouses and businesses and stuff. And so we had gotten several jobs in these warehouses. And I would have to go in with either a lift or with a super high ladder and, take the ballasts out and like, rewire them and then put in the new bulbs. And we had come back from lunch one day and I just jumped back up on my ladder and went back to work. And somebody that was working in the warehouse at the time had turned all the lights back on.
Mhm.
And we didn't check to make sure that they were still turned off. So when I crawled back up there, I like stuck my screwdriver and then I had to use like my pins, my cutter pins. And as soon as I stuck those pin snips in there, it just it flew me across the room. I was on like a 6-foot
Ouch.
ladder. Yeah, it flew me across the
you
room.
still got a dent in your head, right?
That was a different job.
Um,
But I wake up and there's just this.
So Maggie gets in a lot of accidents.
Oh my God. But
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, seemingly based on everything we're talking about, but not normally.
no,
Not
not
normally.
usually. No, not usually.
The only time I got electrocuted all through high school, I took 4 years of electronics, and then I took a couple semesters at DeVry because my mom was working there. So I got free tuition after going to Columbia. And I built a clapper. So I built a couple fuzz pedals that, they sounded like a fuzz face. It was no big deal. It was the circuit board, very exact, replica type stuff. But I tried building
like
a clapper,
like clap on,
like
clap off.
like a clapper. And so I got it all done, and I was excited. So I wanted to show my professor, and I held on to the circuit board and plugged it in, and it was like that part of Back to the Future,
Right.
where like he plugs in, and yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, being shock's no joke.
I'm only telling that story because I wanted to kind of fit in. You guys,
Being shocked is no joke. Like I think it's like 110. It's not a big deal. It's just like licking a 9-volt. But I think it's a 220. It's like the appliance voltage that goes straight to the box. That stuff will mess you
Oh
up.
yeah, no, humans
It's,
and electricity do not mix very well.
oh man.
Yeah.
The 9-volt shock is no big deal. It happens all the time when you're, working electricity. But
But
it's
even a static
painful.
electricity shock can hurt. So
Oh yeah, that still pisses me off.
mhm.
I go to kiss my daughter and she'll have electric on her lips, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah,
You get like hair, like you rub on a balloon and bubbly,
Is there a band called Electric Lips? Because that's pretty good.
We should do that.
That's a pretty good
It's
name.
kind of like a butt rock band.
No, it doesn't.
It totally does.
Well, we could.
It's like my buddy's dad. He's an Italian guy. He looks like the Pringles can. Like
Right.
seriously.
Well, how
Right?
about
And he's
the lips of
no,
electricity.
he's like a full on fucking Italian dude, and he's in a band that's like a bar band in Chicago. I could probably give you a few names. Most of them have the word Confederate or Southern,
Oh God.
like in the
Sounds
name,
great.
and they all wear like Confederate flag bandanas.
Great.
And I don't know.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I don't really think they get it. So
No, I
like,
mean,
I think
if
they're just
you're,
like Skinnered.
a lot of Illinois near Kentucky on the border, it's like that. So
Markisan,
kind of
truth.
do get it a little bit.
Yeah, but all of Illinois outside of you have Chicago
Mhm.
and you have suburbs, and then you have like mild suburbs, and then it just gets completely like serial killer. Like it's
Missouri.
the heart of the Midwest. I mean, if you look at all of Illinois and you got this one little
Mhm.
fucking spot that's like Chicago or anything with
Oh, yeah.
education.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, my wife is from Paducah, Kentucky, and it's right near Metropolis, Illinois. So
That's a thing.
yeah, there's
Illinois.
no, and they have a Superman festival every year. So
Nice.
I hated going to Kentucky just because
Where is
there's not a
that?
lot to do there, and it's
Is
just
it northwestern Illinois or northwestern Kentucky?
yes, it would be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have to be.
It would have to be, right?
It would have to be.
So yeah, no,
Well,
Paducah and Metropolis are just a couple miles apart.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've been in sales for, I don't know, last couple decades. And, my territories always consisted of like Dixon, Illinois, which is home of Ronald Reagan. So it's kind of like what I said, like about here in Woodstock, but not Bill Murray, but Ronald Reagan. They got like statues and
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just bizarre.
Well, Lincoln, he stayed in I lived in a town for a little bit and
Springfield?
no, in South Beloit, Illinois. It's
We're
right in
gonna
the
have to
border.
eventually get to Markisan.
There we go.
Yeah, my
Sorry.
friend is
I
doing
talk too
it.
much. I'm sorry. But they have this old building, like this old, mansion that Lincoln supposedly stayed in during the Civil War. And during that area, that was like
Oh yeah, we just
where,
went there.
yeah, and they have all the little houses in the whole town.
Well, we got
Or, like-
relatives there that like they're
whatever.
actually cool. Yeah, but one's a tattoo artist on there. So I just she got a witch's broom. I got a pentagram on my arm a few weeks ago. I just figured,
Cool.
hey, I'm in my 40s. Let's go. Let's just go right in.
It has nothing to do with
Let's,
what I was
I
talking
want to
about.
get more. I want to get a sleeve. I just haven't done it yet, but
That's what I'm
I've been on a
working for.
diet. I've been on a diet, so I lost 30 pounds. So I was like, well, when I get to 50 pounds, I'm going to celebrate.
Good for
And,
you.
yeah,
How are you
tattoo.
dieting?
I did a Weight Watchers because I just need to watch how much I eat. So you basically just count points. So I just eat whatever I want, and as long as it's within the points, you just scan the packages and it tells you how many points it is. And
you scan it from the app and it.
yeah, you have an app. Weight Watchers just as an app. It's like WW now.
Well, yeah, they just started doing that just in the last probably 5
works.
years.
It works great.
Weight Watchers have been around for years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
My problem is that I don't eat enough. And so when I do eat, my body stores it as fat. And so like all winter long,
You're like a camel. Like a camel.
yeah, all winter long, I'm lazy, dude. All I do is like clean the kitchen, and like pick up the house. But I don't do anything. As soon as it's nice out, I'm like digging in the garden. I'm outside riding my bike and all that. But all winter
Mm,
long, I'm just like gaining weight. But the thing is I don't eat enough. So every time I do eat, my body just stores it as fat because it's afraid it's not going to get food again. And it's not because I'm like trying to starve myself. It's just,
mm.
well,
And
I
I'm the
cook.
opposite
I cook all
completely.
the goddamn time.
Totally the opposite. Mark, if I told you about like my surgeries and like all the shit I've been through. Well, I've
Oh,
been in 2 comas. So
what?
um
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I
Yes.
on our first year anniversary, we went to like a hibachi restaurant in the Dells, and like I was watching it, and so I thought I was constipated. Like I was like, shit, I don't know what's going on. I don't feel sexy. I'm sweating. I'm like white, like pale white. So I'm in the bathroom and I'm just like crying. And we get back to the hotel. It's supposed to be like sexy night, and I'm just fucking dying. So we go to a
But the
pharmacy and we get like
no,
suppositories,
that wasn't then.
laxatives.
That was when we got home from. He faked it the whole time. I knew he didn't feel good, but he kept like being like, "I'm fine, I'm fine." Then
Mm.
the next day, we went out on the strip in the Dells and just drank and fucking ate and partied, and all the while, his body is going septic, and
This is
he
where
just
my memory gets really foggy because I'm
yeah.
like in and out of consciousness at this point. Like I don't.
I I thought at first he didn't feel good, but then I'm like, "Are you sure? You okay? Let's go out. Let's go, party." And he's like, "Okay, let's go party." And so we're like walking the strip of the Dells and we're partying and eating and, dancing. And well, he's not dancing, but,
I don't like
but
yeah.
he lasted 2 or 3 days on our first anniversary in the Dells. Just we fucking partied. And then finally we came home and he's like, "I don't feel good." And yeah, he was
Well,
septic
I went to
all that
work.
time.
I went to work that day, and I remember 'cause I was running that one place, and there was like 38 employees, and I had like my reps come up to me. They're like, "Dude, you have to go to the hospital. Like you're white, you're gray,"
Yeah, it was
and you could actually
crazy.
see my stomach like expanding. So like what happened was, I got inherited diverticulitis. I'm sure
Oh, yeah.
in my past life I wasn't taking care of myself on any level, but it all caught up to me and my intestines exploded. So as I was eating stuff, like shit was just going in my body.
And drinking and partying.
So I just had, they said I had thousands of holes like throughout my intestines.
Damn.
So, um,
Yeah, it was fucked up.
but I went to the hospital. I remember driving myself there, and then I don't remember anything.
No, you didn't drive yourself there.
Was it the first time or second time?
But
See,
you
this is where it gets weird
you didn't
because
drive yourself there either
I
time.
anyway, they um they had to put me in a coma, um and do the rib thing and take out all my organs and
Yeah, they did.
hose
They
me
cut
out.
his ass from like sternum
Oh yeah, I
to
look like a carcass album cover with my
actually
shirt
it's
Oh,
off.
kind of like
Jesus.
a inverted cross.
Oh, that's oh
Yeah,
Because they
that
cut him.
diverticulitis is nasty. My uncle had it. My brother had it as well. I know that they've got to
Well,
like chop your tubes and like reconnect them.
yeah, and
yeah.
there's two different um I guess theories
Well, there's
of the
two
disease.
versions.
You
There's
can have diverticulitis and you can have diverticulosis, which, one will last a lifetime
it's more like Crohn's. Like
where
it's
you
like
have to be
Crohn's
very
disease.
cautious. One would usually just happen the one time and then they cut out a greater part of your intestine and then reattach you and then you probably won't have much of anything after that. But the latter is that you constantly have that, and It's like a
It's like a dry rot of your intestines. But I was lucky, so they just cut out like a good
lucky.
portion of most of my colon and my lower intestine. But I had to go through having a shit bag for almost 3 years, which um, you have a wife. It's not the sexiest thing. Like it's not hot. It'd be, and I'll be really honest right now. There had been times where you're really getting into things and you're holding this warm bag up and things go awry. And
That never stopped me.
and that will completely
That's that right there.
no, I get it. I get it. But internally for me, it just like destroyed, my self-worth for a while. And
But it never stopped me. We were still banging like rabbits.
not
Clearly.
like rabbits, like a timid rabbit that knew at any moment he could shit on you.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
I still rode the hell out of you.
Yeah. We're gonna get to
watership down, friends.
Yeah. Well, anyway, after that, there was a piece of my appendix that was kind of floating around my body. Don't get sick in Rockford. And so I had to do that all over again. And then within that, you're on Dilaudid and you're on morphine, for
Fentanyl.
months and I had the fentanyl patch, and they were giving me 200 to 300 milligram of Narcos every 4 hours that I had to take on top of a fentanyl patch. They were giving me muscle relaxers, and then as soon as I started feeling
Valium.
better, they wanted to give me Xanax.
Xanax.
And the doctors told me, they're like, well, you're gonna have anxiety. Like when you go back to people, I'm like, you can't tell me that I'm gonna have anxiety. Like that's a fucking weird thing
Bro,
to
they
predict.
messed him up. They messed him up bad. They had him on for like months and months of fentanyl patches and
Well, once they gave up on
Norcos and Vicodin, like 10 milligrams, like every couple hours, plus this, plus that. I mean, he was on so many drugs. And then all of a sudden, one day,
they're
he
just like, you're
runs,
done.
he
You're
runs out
okay.
of medicine, and he's been 6 months on fentanyl, morphine, Vicodin or Norco, and this and that. And then one day he runs out, and I'm like,
But we're living in Chicago, so now what
that
happens
was in
is,
Rockford, bro. They just decided
well,
one day they
and
were going to stop giving him his medicine.
well, there's been a couple times,
So
and
now he's
now you're on the
withdrawing.
streets, and now you're like experiencing what it's like to have that happen to you. So you're just
He was absolutely
like
withdrawing.
always in bad situations, and your money just kind of slips away. It's like, okay, now I was getting 100 milligrams for free constantly throughout the day. I had a fentanyl patch. Now to get through the day, I have to pay $37. Or
That stuff was crazy.
so yeah, I got little bananas.
They just
I've
after
never talked about this on the cat. Markisan,
we
I'm
could
so
cut this out
sorry.
if
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad you're still here. I'm also glad Maggie's still here with all her accidents, getting electrocuted and almost dying on a deck.
Yeah.
So hey, I'm just happy I get to talk to you guys.
I'm actually not very accident prone.
Yeah. No, we went through that.
It's really
And
funny.
then I
'cause
went
I'm-
into a coma, and then now we're here. But we have to talk about what Markisan is doing.
Look,
And
sorry, we've been selfish.
so how is this going?
And
You're
but
cute.
well, I had to
You guys are cute.
intake a little bit extra
Thanks,
because
man.
my
I
leg,
appreciate that.
my knee, and my foot hurt so bad. You should see it. It's super swollen, bruised, and
Yeah.
there's even like
Yeah, Markisan.
cuts and openings where I'm
Yeah.
bleeding and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I'm a little out of my sorts because
Yeah.
I had to take a little extra,
Yeah, this is the McDowell's victim session.
Boo-hoo. I had to drink because I don't
But,
feel good.
yeah. Everything hurts.
All right. Hand me that. Give me that book.
Well, anyway, Markisan. So I
Yeah.
think on your path to
Oh,
becoming
hey.
as prolific as I think you should be. And it, like the one thing growing up with what are we gonna do?
God bless you.
Oh, I'm still waiting for the other one. I talked to Mark, but I'll check my email. It's been a long couple days with the, but starting your own label, coming out with a story, um, giving the the musicians that you're working with a song title to work with, and at the same time, everything that's going on with Metalheads Podcast, and you have a partnership with all the other nerds in the world, like Decibel, and um, how did Metalheads Podcast and the metal scene um, develop into what you did with By the Horns, and how do you see that scene kind of like the future of it, and is that a viable thing, and is it kind of like exclusive in a way, or like how do you project yourself within that realm with what you're doing with By the Horns and the music?
Right. Well, so By the Horns is a comic book for people who don't know. They have Voracious, which is my first comic book. But By the Horns is basically Last Unicorn meets Kill Bill. It's a sci-fi fantasy action series about a hunter named Elodie who wants to kill all the unicorns on the continent of Salathis for trampling her husband. But the problem is that it's impossible to find unicorns. So Elodie, she just starts murdering anything out there with a horn in frustration. And unfortunately, all that monster hunting affects her standing in the farming village of Wayfair, where she lives. And the elders exile her for neglecting to help the community. So she sets out with her telepathic, half wolf, half deer friend, Sajin, to make one last go at tracking down unicorns and getting revenge. But they end up discovering that there's something out there more insidious than unicorns. So that's the comic. The first issue is out now, and the second issue comes out next month in May. And how I got involved with the music for it, well, like Voracious, when I do comic books, I kind of want to make them at events. And I always kind of wanted to do a soundtrack because I'm so into music, especially metal, that I just thought it would be a good time to do it. I knew I had to start it early. And the Metalheads podcast, which I love, I adore being on there with all those boys, like we were talking about earlier. But I've just met so many great musicians being on the cast. Yeah. And one of them is Keith D, and he is the mastermind behind Arctic Sleep. And on the Metalheads podcast, he also does the little segues. So we have sections in the Metalheads podcast, and when we complete a section like news or whatever, there's a little.
Oh, is he the guy that writes that? I thought that was Jay, maybe.
Nope, now it's Keith D from Arctic Sleep. So you learned something new.
Yep. Like, what are you listening to? Like that stuff?
That's right.
Him.
Yep.
That's right.
It's all Keith D and George. I think George commissioned me to do a bunch of different spots. I don't know if Keith came up with all those or George wrote them. I don't know the process, but they're great. Yeah. So he's kind of like an honorary member of the Metalheads podcast. We just love that guy. And I love his music. I just really love Arctic Sleep. And when I was writing By the Horns, there's something in the quality of Arctic Sleep's music that just seemed to really fit the comic book, because the comic book is, it's a lot about stabbing horned monsters, but it's also about a woman who feels like all she has left in life is revenge. And so she has to decide, what's more important, getting back at the unicorns or standing up for the larger community. And
there's an era of friendship.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The book it's built around loss and how she deals with it. But also, and being proactive about, making herself feel better, even though she can't really do that. So there's a lot of emotion in the book, and Arctic Sleep has that quality in the music. I mean, Keith D wrote an entire album that was dedicated to his cat that he loved, that he lost.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
So yeah, I really connected with that. And so when I was thinking about, hey, I want to do music for By the Horns, Arctic Sleep was the first band I thought of when I was brainstorming who might come on and do the soundtrack.
Yeah,
and originally I was
somebody
going to
that
do a
would really
split.
appreciate it too.
Yeah. Well, Keith D had also contacted me. He had read Voracious and he really loved it. I've actually never been, I don't know if I've been on an episode with him. Maybe once. Maybe I have once. But he had been on a bunch before. And he read Voracious and he really loved that book. And so we had gotten to talking, outside of the Metalheads podcast. And so it just made sense to make a collaboration for the comic book with him. And originally I was going to do it as a split and have him do one song and then have another band do a different song. But I just really like talking to Keith D, and I just loved Arctic Sleep so much. I asked him if he would just do 2 songs for it, and we would put out an EP. And he was all about it. He was really into it. I sent him the book, and he really dug it. And then we talked about the different characters and what they were going through. And he wanted me to come up with song titles, because that's how he starts writing music, is he wants the song title first.
Absolutely.
So I came up with the song titles, and then he writes the music, and then he does the lyrics after that. So yeah, it was really rewarding experience. And I've definitely made a good friend in Keith. We actually had a celebration the day the album officially released, because we put out the first song and had pre-orders, but then there was an official release day, and we had a Zoom celebration where you got to hang out, just talk for a bunch of hours. So yeah, that's the best part.
Or...
Yeah, he's in Wisconsin, so he's near you guys.
Wisconsin. Oh, it was close to me. Yeah,
I'm Milwaukee. He's right near Milwaukee.
Well, okay. I'm a Wisconsin girl.
Yeah, it's crazy because. Go ahead, Maggie.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I would love to have that conversation with the music and the mood of it, because The Last Unicorn is one of my favorite movies. It's meant to be, like lighthearted, but it actually is quite dark.
Yeah, but it's more like Lady Death or Conan the Barbarian kills the last unicorn.
But it's quite dark. And I think we discussed this the last time that we spoke about this book, is that unicorns have this idea of being these beautiful, evasive, creatures. But like a mermaid, they're really not as beautiful.
Yeah, I think we did relate them to sirens.
Yeah, because they're they're said to be beautiful, and they're said to be these.
Well, this is the first time I've ever heard or seen a unicorn in that light, which I thought was really interesting. It's kind of like both Voracious and By the Horns, like there's a weird main character. Like you got the guy that time travels, and dinosaur meat is delicious, and like he's kind of like cheating the system with this like Kobe beef that nobody knows about, or it's just such an angular story. Like if you could travel through time, like is that what you would really do? Are you that into cooking that you want to like take slabs of dinosaur meat? I found that interesting. Just like By the Horns, like unicorns are like sirens, where they're shitheads and they kill people you love, and now you gotta kind of revenge this thing. I just like that.
That's the thing, is that in most myths and stories, unicorns are these beautiful mythical creatures that are like all white and beautiful with these gorgeous horns,
But it is
and they're all
dark.
magical, and they're all,
Well, it's kind of
beautiful.
like how you
And the
like.
same thing is a mermaid. You would imagine a mermaid to be this magical, beautiful, flawless, mythical creature. But,
But it's
if
like
you
how.
actually go in,
But you love grim stories,
well, of course I
where it's
do. I love
it's like
Anderson
this.
and
Well,
Grimm.
Maggie's right though, because unicorns, they're seen as these perfect creatures, good creatures,
They are
and
seen
so
that
you've
way.
never seen them in a different light. So I mean, I pride myself and have a lot of surprises in my book. I feel like people aren't able to really predict what's going to happen in my books, but I liked portraying unicorns in a negative light.
Well,
Where it's
I
just
think,
weird. It's just bizarre. Like these majestic creatures are killing
yes.
people.
And I think we discussed this last time. Fairies. Fairies are
Fairies
these
are fucked up.
beautiful
Yeah.
little creatures that have these beautiful wings and this long, flowy hair with these little mini skirts and their pointy little toes. But the original mystical idea of fairies that had come way before
Oh,
what
they're
they're doing in books now, or
terrifying.
or
Yeah,
this fairies are,
they're the fae,
uh,
right? They call
yeah,
them.
the fae. And if you go back into like the days of Merlin and all of that, those fairies were actually not beautiful. And,
Well, it seems like
they
sirens,
worked
like they
dark
suck you in,
things,
like they
Well,
suck
that's
you
the
in
thing is
as
like
did
you
the
have,
fae.
there's a lot of creatures, mythical and folklore creatures who have different sides depending on the legends and the myth. But unicorns aren't like that. Unicorns are almost exclusively good,
Ex-
pure creatures.
Exclusively to some point. But there are uh, there's other folklore that unicorns are not this beautiful being that is just some,
well, I haven't seen that with
thing that
unicorns,
exists.
but
I
it,
have.
I think, I don't know. I thought he kind of invented that aspect of it. What I want to know is there any parallel between the time traveling dinosaur butcher and the unicorn? Like, is there like a theme there that like
Oh, we probably can't embarrass the story.
I mean, well, the theme would be loss because by the horns is it's built around the way Elodie reacts to the loss of her husband. That's something I dealt with in Voracious too. So it's a by the horns has a similar theme, but a different, more of a reactionary perspective, I guess.
you're
The
saying the
lead,
main character in Voracious is soothing something within what he
well,
does with time travel, or
well, Nate, he wanted to do everything he could not to deal with the loss of his sister in the very beginning of that book. And Elodie in By the Horn, she really wants to do something about what happened to her spouse. So in Voracious, you see Nate, he's doing selfish things. You mentioned about time travel. If people had time travel, there's no doubt in my mind that they would just do selfish things. They're not going to do altruistic things because people don't do that shit. They
Well,
do things for themselves.
who would do that?
So
yeah.
Nate did that too, and what made him happy was cooking. He couldn't do that in the beginning of the book because his sister died and she was so connected to that. But then when he found a way to do it, and it was just phenomenal, dinosaur meat was phenomenal. It was a way for him to just dull the pain and kind of forget about what happened to his sister. And by the horns, Elodie has suffered that loss. It's like 9 months later, and all she wants to do is just kill anything that's even associated, even anything that she perceives as associated with his death. She wants to get out there and avenge him and be proactive about that. And that's a lot different than Nate. So it's kind of a flip side of the coin for me, writing these two books. I didn't know that at first when I was writing By the Horns that was going to be that way. It just kind of turned out to be that. But
It seems like a very old school 700 BC Viking time
What?
where people just kind of go after, a revenge.
Well, I don't know about the Viking Connect. You might be predicting his next book. Like, who knows?
I wouldn't say that.
But
I'm just saying,
I would
and
say like the whole of like the characters aren't really like braggadocious or like it seems like they're just trying to kind of get through the days, and even with
yeah, but it's mythological and not,
well,
it takes you back
I
to
do
that
think that he
time.
created
To
a
me, I
mythos
suppose.
with that. Um, but I think the grim fairy tales and the darkness and isolation them it's so weird. Like when you read that stuff now, and like it's so dark, and some of it's disfamiliar because I, I don't know if I'd react that way. But it's kind of like the Hansel and Gretel story where like the darkness is upsetting, but the story when you're a kid was
Well, as you sing the song that, is to go along with it, it's, supposed to be quite calming and really very normal.
you got a song.
Well, well, there's several songs.
Oh,
I'm quite obsessed with the Grimm's fairy tales and the Anderson fairy tales books, and I have several of very old books that are Grimm's and Anderson
no, we
fairy
are.
tales.
I will say this, Markisan. If you came to our house, we have hundreds of obscure. Like I've been, we've been collecting like the darkest books ever. And if you walk in our house, you walk immediately to like a bookshelf that freaks people out. Like if our, kids have friends over and the parents want to meet us, it,
They walk into my
it's not
altar.
a good scene. Everything's clean, it's nice, but you walk into like a big altar full of, and then our bookshelf is right next to it, and it's I don't know, it's not for everyone. I wouldn't um I- we've had some weird experiences, but um
It's okay for
Are
some
there
people, and
books
it's
about
not.
power washing in there or something?
oh, I
But
wish.
oh
Yeah, I
no,
know
I
what to
keep those in
do.
my bedroom.
Yeah. No, it's a
I keep
lot
those in my
of
bedroom.
Right,
No, it's
right.
usually witchcraft and
Mathers,
Satanism
Crowley,
and
and then I, I'm sure we have like 30 or 40 like, underground rock kind of biographies. But so what I want to know, let's get back to
moving
us.
on.
Nobody gives a fuck about us.
Yeah,
Nobody cares.
go ahead, move on.
Stupid. We're going to edit all this out.
Moving on.
So do you think there's going to be a trend? And what I like about, everything you guys do, it's always a t-shirt and beer check. And you're so adamant about, um, like the whole beer scene. And I know with By the Horns, you got, is that still available or? No shit.
Mead from Breminghorn. Yep. You've never seen
Oh,
this?
the By the Horn? No, no, no. I just saw your,
There it is. Look at it.
can I order that
Yeah,
still
you can
or?
get it at Breminghorn. And actually, you can get it with a comic. So,
Dude,
you were
we're
talking about how
afraid
Scout
we
hasn't sent
can't.
you the comic, but you can
Is
get
it's
it with a comic.
okay? Is the Viking horn actually sold out at this
Sold
point,
out.
or
It's completely sold out. I just checked. Well, it sold out at Breminghorn, and I sold out of mine. And then Scout had some Scout comics, but it's sold out as well
okay?
now.
I think our major concern right now is not being able to get to Decibel Fest.
Well, hold on. No, I want to talk about what he's selling.
Oh, we can
Sure.
talk about that too, but
Okay, all
We
right.
can
So
finish By the Horns, and then we can go
yeah,
and talk about
yeah.
sorry,
We
I'm
Metalheads and
sorry.
could talk about all
Decibel.
that, but wait. What I want to know
I
is
run my mouth. I'm sorry.
so beer and microbrews have
Mhm.
very much coagulated into a synergy of parallel kind of scenes in a way. And okay, like if you watched like Heavy Metal Parking Lot, like with Iron Maiden and, Judas Priest or whatever, it would be mostly like Budweiser and, mullets. And now, metal's become way more um, articulate with, quality. Like, do you think that comic books are going to be maybe the next part of that? And like, do you think that maybe you can spearhead that as far as bringing
Like
comics in the
comics
fold?
and metal crossover. Well, I
Well,
mean, it's
heavier.
happened. It's happened a few times. Iron Maiden has a bunch of comic books that are coming out. Um, so there's certain bands who have done comic books. I think, and rock bands as well. So yeah, it's been happening. Luke Oram, who is a really great illustrator, he did a cover for By the Horns, a wraparound painted cover, and he also did the covers for Sludge, which is a great band. And he just did a graphic novel for a band that came out. So it's happened a little bit. I don't know if you're going to see a ton of metal and comics combining, but you never know. Chemist mentioned doing one with an artist and writer named Daniel Warren Johnson, who's really great comic book creator and is a metalhead. So yeah, I would like to see it more. What I like to do more, I mean, I did 2 collaborations with the metal band. So I have the By the Horns soundtrack, but then I also did a soundtrack for a short story that I wrote with Ashen Horde. So, for me, yeah, I kind of want to do more stuff.
Is
Yeah,
that
when I started,
available?
yeah, it's available. Yeah. So I started a record label called Skull Fracture Records
Yes.
because I did the collaboration with Arctic Sleep for By the Horns, but then I ended up writing my first prose story about a dinosaur barbarian king, anthropomorphic, in his final days for this anthology, and that got published just very recently.
So the
And
dinosaur has a very acute consciousness, like he's
yes,
aware.
yes, that's right. So
Okay.
it's basically Conan if he was a dinosaur.
Okay.
And so I wrote this story. They asked me to write it for this publisher named Outland Entertainment, and I had a blast doing it. And Trevor from Ashen Horde also really liked Voracious, and he asked me if I wanted to collaborate on something. I said, you know what? I have an idea. So I had this story that I wrote, and I was like, I'm looking to maybe do an instrumental song,
Nice.
as if it for the character. And I know that's not really something you've done a lot of, but if you'd be up for it, I know how talented you are. And Trevor's like, oh, I definitely would do that. He read the story, he really dug it. And so he came up with this amazing instrumental for it. And then I was like, you know what? We should put out a cassette tape. You haven't done a cassette tape release. And we could do a B-side if you've got another song or something that you wanted to finish. So they had a B-side that they had started, but they never finished. So they did that. That one has vocals on it. So there's 2 brand new Ashen Horde songs on a cassette. The band has a Midnight Black cassette that you can order, just the cassette, and then Skull
Yeah, I saw
Fracture
that.
Records has the book, the anthology that I was a part of, signed, and you can get a blood red cassette of the songs. You get a digital download, of course, with
Nice.
those. So yeah, I did those 2, and it's been really fun. Skull Fracture Records, I made the whole website. I've done promos for it. It's a lot of work, but I just felt if I'm going to do these releases, I might as well have an umbrella that they should be
Yeah.
under.
Absolutely.
Well, and people at through the podcast, I would say get Dave from Mortiscold involved. Like in an old school death metal track. I'd be more than happy to get a bunch of guys from Chicago, that of and write a song for you if you're ever interested.
Yep.
Um,
I mean,
but
I'd like to do more. I definitely like to do more. I'm taking a break from it right now because it was a lot of work just to
Yeah.
get that done. But yeah, I'd love to do a full length. I'd love to have Arctic Sleep back. If we do more mini series for By the Horns, I'd love for Arctic Sleep to do more songs. And my goal would be if we did like 3 or 4 miniseries, that he would do a couple songs for each one, and then we would put out a full length vinyl with all those songs on it, and then an additional song. So
Yeah, that would be
something like
incredible.
that.
That would be a great project to work on.
Yeah, but it would actually, like right now, it seems like people are very interested in putting out albums. Like they want to put a song out or a live performance. That would be a great new angle.
Well, the whole thing for Skull Fracture Records is it's music that is dedicated to stories and myth. So I'm trying to combine stories with music. So that's the difference there.
A strong ability to do that. You have an incredible imagination. I think you have a strong ability to.
Well, and you might be able to
together.
Get people to like team up. Even with
right. Well, that's another thing. So there's a bunch of I like a lot of cool, weird fiction, and there's a bunch of very small publishers that put out stuff that's very metal,
like
just
Robert
really
Heinlein
cool
kind of stuff, or
just weird science fiction and stuff like that. So I'd love to collaborate with one of those indie publishers and maybe put out some music through Skull Fracture where you could get some of their projects and stuff like that.
You absolutely have the reach for that.
Yeah, you might be able to get Americans to read again. That could be a.
I mean, I did my projects, but I don't have to just do my projects exclusively. If there's other people that are writing and are into the music that I like, maybe that's something we can work on in the future.
Yeah, I absolutely think that you have an opening, and there's a lot of other people that are right there with you. That you could open all of this up big again, and do music, and do books, do sound videos.
Yeah, I mean, it's already starting because. So I worked with Trevor and Ash and Horde, and so we did that little soundtrack EP, and it's released now. You can get it at skullfracturerecords.com or Ash and Horde's Bandcamp. But so we've become friends too. I love talking to Trevor as well. That's the most rewarding part to me is making friends. And I'm not even looking to make money. I just want to put out this stuff and have the band make money. So
isn't it the point?
It is really like, it's just the collaboration. I don't give a shit about money at the end of the day. I'm good with that.
Any of us do. We're just trying to be happy.
Well, and I
don't want to pursue themselves and, do what they want, do what makes them happy. And it's,
Well, and I think it's going to be a lot harder to go through a midlife crisis when you're always meeting people. You're always trying to progress. Like you're always trying to do things that are positive for a community of people. And so you don't have that.
I would never have. Well, I know a lot of people go through that, but I'm not really like that. Like I don't even get stressed. I've only been stressed once in my whole life. So,
well, I think that's awesome. the main idea of metal and actual metalheads and people that are very serious about their music, the music that they're interested, the art that they get into, the things that they want to go into. It is not because of money.
Oh no. First of all, if you're in metal, you're probably not making money anyways.
And
you're doing it for the love.
I don't know, Godsmack or
right there,
somewhere like that. Yeah, you can cut some
Lamb of God, or there's a couple bands that are making money that you'd still consider
I don't
metal.
really care for those bands anyway.
Yeah,
I don't either.
I will say Lamb of God is way cooler than Godsmack.
Well, I would second that motion. But the idea is that most actual people that are into metal, actual metalheads, are not they're not doing this for money. They're doing it because they love it. They're doing it because it's their art, it's their soul, it's it's everything about them.
Yeah.
The bands that they might go on tour with, those bands that might be opening or closing or who might be making a whole bunch of money, but these other bands, they're just on tour, but they're not doing it for money. They're doing it because it's like their soul. That's
Well,
Yeah.
That's their thing.
to me,
It's not about
it's
money.
no, but it's literally the projection of punk rock and the ethos of punk rock. It was never about getting laid. It was never about making money. Like it was just like an art community. It was people
Yeah,
that
no,
respected
that's
each
the fun
other.
part. It's the
And
collaboration.
That's why it's
So
important.
yeah, so with Trevor and Ashton Horde, so he's got a new project. He wants to do a thrash metal band. He's already written all the music for it, and he
he's in
asked me to write.
Wisconsin. I should just drive up there and hang out with him.
No, Trevor's in California.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Of
Arctic
course he
Sleep.
is.
Keith D is in Milwaukee. But yeah, Trevor asked me to write lyrics for his thrash metal band. He calls it right now the working title Thrash and Horde, which I think is amazing. That's not going to be the
Thrashing
real name of
Horror
the
is the name
band.
of his band.
Well,
Thrash and
his
Horde.
name of his band is Ash and Horde, so he's doing this thrash project. So it's tentatively called the project Thrash and Horde, but
Oh,
that won't
okay.
be
I
the real
see. I
name.
see.
You should try and sing.
I have sung before. I've done singing, but I don't have time for that. I don't have time. But I've written lyrics. I've done 3 songs for him, and that's been really fun actually to write lyrics for the
Yeah, I
thrash
bet.
metal band. So
You know, one thing I wanted to talk about really quick, and whenever you have to go, Markisan, we can. Um, growing up in Syracuse during, the hardcore victory days, what were some of the bands that you initially attached to that you thought had that same ethos that we're talking about?
the bands I initially attached to, Snapcase.
Yeah, I love Snapcase.
For sure, they're from Buffalo, New York, and my
Yeah.
mom is from that area. So they're one of my all-time favorite bands. So I actually been listening to them a lot lately.
That's awesome. They had that helmet Fugazi, but hardcore quicksand, kind of.
That's quite
Yeah.
a mix.
Yeah, them
Like,
and Earth Crisis were the big ones for me. Earth Crisis, militant vegan straight edge band, but I never really got into that. But I just loved the music, and I couldn't really understand what they were saying anyways. But and I respect their convictions and all that. But yeah, I love their music. I would go to most of their shows and get real pumped up in the hardcore seat. But yeah, those 2 bands were the biggest ones for me
Okay.
around that time. But yeah, the hardcore, that's what really, I guess it was probably hair metal bands that started my journey into metal, but hardcore is really what got me into it. It really.
Right. So what are those?
Hold on. Sorry. I don't want to interrupt you by any means, but I guess what I'm trying to get at, it seems like the metal scene is, in all seriousness, more like the hardcore scene now, is as far as friendship and mutual respect within some guidelines, but like how do you see that scene in Syracuse kind of bleeding over into what's going on with metal now, in the way you digest it?
How do I see the Syracuse scene as it relates to metal today?
Well, as far as like camaraderie and
I see what you're saying. Now you got to think back. I mean, I didn't really feel like I had a lot of camaraderie back in the day when I was going to the hardcore shows, because there weren't many kids that were into that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was a big scene in Syracuse, but I didn't know any of those kids. So I was basically going to shows alone. It's kind of like in Chicago. I went to a lot of metal shows by myself. I've always kind of been a loner anyways. So, but there was something about being at the show that I connected with, just being there, being in the pit. You see these bands playing this really emotional, energetic music. And there was something about that, just being in the pit and like connecting with that music and connecting with the crowd that I really enjoyed. It was a way to release a lot of your energy that I had never really known before. I was a big sports star, so that was one way for me to do that when I was growing up. but it wasn't the same. Metal was something completely different because I never felt like I fit into the sports world. You know, I was good at sports, but I wasn't friends with any of the people on the team or whatever. In fact, I actually got kicked off the team because I wasn't hanging out with the rest of the team members enough. You know, I just was never a jock. I enjoyed being physical, but so there was something about that hardcore scene that I connected with, just being able to let loose and doing something that most people weren't doing. It almost felt like this really emotional secret almost,
Okay.
you know? And so I liked it. And it's the same thing I feel like with metal now. I mean, I'm a lot more conditioned to it, you know, because I've been listening to metal so long. But if you think about it in terms of the larger mainstream, people don't know anything about metal. You know, they think Metallica is still metal. So, you know, I still feel like we're in the underground. Yeah. We have a community, Decibel, you guys, you know, the podcasts, you know, the bands and everything. And it definitely feels like a community, but it is very insular. You know, everything out around us doesn't know anything about what we're doing.
Yeah, which is weird. That's a really weird thing for me because, you know, in my insular
well, he's a metal snob, first of all.
Well, listen, everybody on Metalheads
everybody who listens to metal kind of is
are what they call gatekeepers, but not in effective way. It's kind of I would look at it like I'm a metal hardcore punk rock historian. You know, like I like bringing like there's waves of consciousness, you know, like when, you know, you study demonology or Luciferian stuff, it's like a bunch of gods that end up in the same apex of, you know, like a flow of consciousness. And I think that's the same way.
But there is a wavelength.
But I was also a fat Jehovah's Witness kid, so I probably made all this stuff up in my head.
No,
but my dad was
I wouldn't think that you did. Your dad was a music snob.
Oh yeah, totally. He was like a fusion bass player, and it was King Crimson, Genesis, Gentle Giant. Yes, you know, like he had pockets for everything, and his record collection is like. Pat Metheny played with, you know, like Jack Bruce.
He did a lot of fucking album stuff.
So
but on the other side,
but that was the only time he wanted to hang out with me.
Witness. So like it was, you know, just shut down.
There's a lot between A and B. Like you have no idea. He left my mom. He had another wife. He became a swinger for several years. There's abuse charges. Like there's a lot of stuff. And we
can't hear this. Stuff, if your dad sees that we're talking about his,
nobody wants to hear this shit.
Dick play with another dude.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't say that.
I did.
We're not doing that.
I said it. I'll edit. I'll edit.
You guys have a colorful life.
Oh my God, colorful? Are you kidding me?
You think so?
So I have this idea of it has to be an idea and it has to make sense. Only because I live this life, but you know, you have a whole lot of people that are listening to the radio, and so all these people are judging these people that listen to the radio because they live in these kind of like outskirt towns or these outskirt places.
You're talking about like radio metal.
And you don't know anything.
Like all you know is Pantera or Black Album.
Korn or like whatever is on, you know, the radio.
Yeah, that's not the fault.
Is that stuff even on the radio anymore?
No,
I think we're going back to the mid '90s.
I was really into metal, but I was only.
You lived in Syracuse. I was in Chicago. She was in Rockford and
South Beloit and Arkansas and Baraboo and the Dells and Reedsburg. I lived in like.
They weren't handing out those Earth Crisis albums.
So you're real metal, you know. I liked all that metal, but you know,
well, it's interesting to think about, you know, how you got into music, because I was actually on another podcast recently called the Endless Metal Podcast. I don't think it's out yet, but they asked me a lot about stuff. That's why I was talking about hair metal, because that stuff was really the gateway for me, and then that kind of led into hardcore. So yeah, everybody's got a kind of a different story. There's always somebody who introduced you to it, you know?
And I think it depends on exposure too. Like, where do you live? Who you're around? Who are the people that are opening things up to you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was really, really young, probably like 10 or 11. In the time, it was like Cinderella.
Mm-hmm. That's same for me.
Night Songs is a sick album.
Cinderella, Motley Crue.
So was Long Cold Winter, right? That was the next one.
Long Cold Winter is a big one. I still love that album. That's 88.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, it's good. That's
then
a big
was,
one. Def Leppard was also pretty big too, man.
She took the last train.
Dude, yeah.
Remember that shit? And then,
well, what's funny about being isolated, like you, and me being a Jehovah's Witness kid, and it doesn't sound like you. Well, you were going to concerts by yourself, but heavy was heavy. Like when Skid Row came out, that first album, I wore it out. Dirty Rotten Stinking Filthy Rich by Warrant, wore that shit out.
Warrant, oh my god.
Cinderella Night Songs, but also Naked Ray Gun and Megadeth. I didn't know that there was like a sense field.
Between, I didn't know that because my family was Pentecostal Christian. So any of the stuff that I would have heard.
You guys are talking in tongues, like with the eyes rolled back.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No, those hair metal bands and then kind of getting to Maiden from there. So
no, they were good.
How old are you, Markisan?
I'm 45.
45.
Oh, so
you're just a few years older than I am, yeah.
But during that time, I was young. I was a little kid, and I was
he's still the youngest guy on the Metalheads podcast by 37 years.
He's Pentecostal.
I think Matt actually is the youngest.
I wasn't allowed. I wasn't allowed to like hear and listen.
No, but I remember going to Rolling Stones records up on like Irving and Cumberland.
Narragansett.
No, it's Cumberland or Harlem and Irving. Like Harlem and Irving Plaza. But used to go like in all these shops when I was a kid, and they would have like shops at like metal guys with leather vests, and they would have like the square pin and like a bunch of switchblade knives. And I would take my grandpa, because my parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, and be like, "Grandpa, I love you, man." And he was such a dickhead. His name was Herman, but he would introduce himself to people as Handsome Bob Manella.
He sounded kind of like a pervert.
Yeah, but no, he was cool. He was just weird. But yeah, so I'd collect all that stuff. But when you went to the record store, I remember the week that Appetite for Destruction came out with like a limited edition guitar cross patch with the rape scene, like the big full rape scene. And my parents just smashed it on the garbage can.
Well,
so just start writing stuff.
His grandma and grandpa hated that. His mom and dad were Jehovah's Witnesses, so they would sneak Steven out. Like
that's when I got really into Merciful Fate, King Diamond. I was like, I want all the Satan. I want all.
It's funny. His old ass Italian grandpa hated the fact that they were Jehovah's Witnesses so bad.
I loved
and so
Motorhead.
His grandpa will come over and like sneak him out and like buy him the most like satanic fucking albums and magazines, and his grandpa was probably pretty badass.
He was fucking cool. I remember getting the first fucking Deicide vinyl and just being like, like it blew me away. I was like, this is so against those fucking freak shows that,
No, and that the sense of discovery, especially for metal, because it's never really been in the mainstream, especially that super heavy stuff. So when you finally find it, if you find it, it's like a revelation. Like, what? I never even heard anything like this ever before, and you have to have more. You need to know more about it.
Revelation. I always liked metal. When I met Steven, I like did a whole bunch of metal stuff before him, but my metal stuff was
you did metal stuff.
It was like more.
She was an electrician. She was a construction worker. She worked in metal.
It was just.
I was just like, I never got involved in metal
exposed to like the darker metal or like the more intense metal.
Mm.
So when I met him, I always liked like Pantera and Metallica and Slayer and stuff like that. But it was really kind of deep as it went, you know? And then the more we started hanging out, and then we started, I think, like doing shrooms and smoking, I started listening to Bathory and then Portal and then all kinds of fucking
Mhm.
shit that I thought was ridiculous before. But
Well, you're
now,
always gonna be exposed to different levels. So I had the hair metal, then moved into hardcore, and I had some metal, but I really, like you, I was only like a surface levels like Maiden, Slayer.
yeah, I
And I
did
went
the
to
same thing.
college, and there was these guys from Canastota, New York, and they were really into metal, like just like deep metal stuff,
Yeah,
Incantation and My Dying Bride and all that,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's all
Onwards
they
to
listen to.
Golgotha.
Yeah.
It
So
was fucking
they
sick.
really opened my eyes to some more of that stuff because I was really into more of the hardcore punk kind of stuff. And um,
stuff that was popular, stuff that everybody else knew or you had heard already. It was kind
right.
of my bag, you know?
Yeah. But the thing of it is like, I thought, oh man, I'm not in the mainstream already. I'm listening to stuff nobody else is listening to.
Right, I did
And then,
too.
and then you
Yeah.
meet somebody else and you're like, what? There's this
What
whole
the
other
fuck
section
is
of
this
music I didn't
shit?
know. Yep.
Yeah,
So
what
death
the fuck
metal
is
was a
this?
revelation for me because I
Yes,
love death metal.
same, same.
And
Yeah, in the
Doom. I
early
mean, Doom was really a
I
big thing
fucking
for me.
love Doom.
Mhm.
Doom is my shit. I like Southern kind of fucking grudge. Like the slower, the better, like the slower, the harder. I like so much shit that 5 years ago I would have been like, what the fuck is this shit? You know?
Yeah, I love Doom. I mean, it. What I like about metal is it's so powerful and it can get you so pumped, but it can also be so beautiful and it can fit any of the moods that you're in. And the musicianship is
Absolutely.
just phenomenal. You know,
Yep.
metal and jazz. I mean, I don't. There's nothing else that equals those two as far as musicianship goes. So yeah,
Jazz, I
Doom. I
have to
listen to.
say, jazz, I have to be in a mood.
that's what I
Oh,
went to
I
school
hate
for.
jazz. Well, I like slow
Really?
jazz, but I hate the manic,
Me
crazy jazz.
too.
I've
Oh my
never
God.
liked
I
it.
think nobody has ever agreed with me on that. Like, I like slow, chill, like New Orleans. Like,
Yeah, I like midnight jazz, man.
yeah, but that,
Sexy jazz.
Sexy jazz.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
all off the charts and up and down. I
I
fucking
know.
hate that
I
shit.
hate it too.
I
Oh my God, I love you. I'm gonna hug you so bad. I think you're the only person I've ever like said that out loud and has agreed with me. I fucking hate that shit.
I've been obsessed
I don't
over
know
the
what it
last
is.
few weeks with, and I grew up with it and I really understand like all the albums, but like every time I get into it, I find like how I don't even get it, but I understand it on a different level. But the early Genesis with Phil Collins on drums, like
Mm-hmm.
Lamley's
Oh
down
no,
on
that's
Broadway,
good.
Trick of the Tail, like all that stuff. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
that's really good.
and Steve Hackett went into, he did a band with, I know the dude, Gordian Knot. Steve Hackett
Oh
was
yeah.
in yeah, with the dude from Fates Warning and like just but I don't know. Something about Phil Collins drumming and even his like solo stuff.
Oh, dude, I've
I don't
been a
know.
big fan ever since that episode of Miami Vice when Crockett and Tubbs are in the car and I can feel it coming in the air tonight.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
remember
too.
So
like driving to Union Station. My dad was the on-site plumber in the back of a 78 Thunderbird with like all midnight blue interior vinyl and that coming on and just like being like, oh,
yeah, I love Miami Vice, and they had a lot of good music that not that I haven't heard. I heard a lot of it, but I think they put stuff in there that I just didn't know that much about too, which I appreciated. A lot of
there was a lot of
electronic
chicoria
music.
on Miami Vice.
Yeah, even the opening theme I really liked. I liked the
I think
soundtrack. I
that
had the
was
hot soundtrack on
chicoria
tape.
actually that
Yeah.
wrote the theme.
So
Yeah.
I thought the music there was very important to the show, and that was the first time I really felt that with a television show.
Yeah, but that synth is kind of like when you watch like Argento or Fulci, like zombie, like those 70s Italian horror movies with those.
Movies, yes. Movies has always been a huge part of movies, but as far as shows go, I never really noticed it until
No, but
Miami
that same
Vice.
kind of like keyboard, like
Right.
aesthetic. Who's that band? Zombie on Relapse.
Yep.
That kind of does that.
That's a good band.
You know what I have will always be a go-to for me will always be Nine Inch Nails.
Oh yeah, I love Nine Inch Nails too.
From like I think the time that I was like 10 or 11 has always just been a huge go-to.
I just listened to Downward Spiral and The Fragile a couple days ago.
The Fragile, yeah. You know what? I actually had sort of kind of probably understatingly listened to more than I need to is that song is Every Day is Exactly the Same. It's
Yeah.
so ridiculous because it's so exactly like what's happening now. And
It's very Groundhog Day too.
Yeah, it's so weird. It just I came across it recently and I'm like, oh my god.
Like a depressive full circle.
Yeah, it makes
Did you guys have you seen the show Song Exploder? It's also a
No.
podcast. So Song Exploder is great. It is a podcast, but now it's a Netflix show. And what they do is they take a song and they dissect it. So you'll hear levels of it, like the different layers of how they made the song. And then they talk to the artist, how they crafted it, what emotional space they were in, what the song means to them. And it's great. They're like half-hour shows. And Trent Reznor was on one for a song that he did. Yeah, but all of them are good. I really like the podcast, and that it's even better as a television show because you get to see them interview the band or the person, and then they react to how they actually made the song. So they'll strip it away, like they'll get the different layers, just the vocals, or just a bass line, and they'll discuss it. And at the end, they play the whole song. So I think you guys would really appreciate that.
I probably would really appreciate it. Trent Reznor is one of my favorites. I think when I was maybe 11, I heard Pinion blasting in my older sister's car, and it was just, it blew my mind. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then that was a huge deal. That really opened me up at that time. And then I think I was maybe 11 and a half. And then I heard Pretty Hate Machine, which fucking Pretty Hate Machine, really?
Sounds like Phil Collins.
That it does. Actually, it actually does. But that entire album, Pretty Hate Machine, is just
no, it's good. I think that came out
amazing to me.
Well, you remember Sound Warehouse? They had Sound Warehouse where you'd have like the stations and the. I don't know. It was a chain, but I think that came out the same couple weeks as Cowboys from Hell. Like right around that same time. And I know.
Are you saying that Pretty Hate Machine came out at the same time as Cowboys from Hell?
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of thinking that didn't happen.
No, it did.
You were probably
I remember
right.
Downward Spiral came out, if not the same day, very close to Siamese Dream. From Smashing Pumpkins.
You know what else came out the same week that Siamese Dream did? Anthrax. What's it called? With John Bush only.
Shit! Why can't I? White Noise? Sound of White Noise?
Yeah, Sound of White Noise came out the same week. It's kind of like, it came out the same week that Nevermind by Nirvana came out. Use Your Illusion Nirvana. 1 and 2.
Oh, right. It did happen. I remember because I got
if you think about, is actually a pretty interesting.
Yes, because it
cultural
shift. Grunge and the hair.
Yeah, but it's like Elton John. Well, Guns N' Roses are like, we're not going to be cool anymore. We're just going to be Elton John.
I love Guns N' Roses.
I do too.
Word. I mean, we're all the same age, so if we didn't, we'd be like, who is doing that. Who is that?
It's not me.
That's you guys.
It's not me, bro. Seriously, it's not me.
Really?
But for real, look, there's nothing.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Do you know the band Thieves from Chicago? The hardcore band.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, then we'll drop it.
Although I want to listen to the Guns N' Roses trilogy now.
Well, let's try.
It is yeah.
Actually, I wanted.
Lies is kind of the outcast, right?
No, you know the Illusions trilogy. There's 3 songs that have a story. You know that, right?
Okay, hold on.
You guys. So
Actually-
Don't Cry is the
Okay.
first one, and then it's November Rain
I just said that.
and Estranged. Those 3 songs
Estranged,
make up a
okay.
trilogy. It's like one story. So I
I'm
listen to
watching-
those. I sometimes when I just want to listen to Guns N' Roses, I'll throw those songs on.
That's awesome.
I really
Yeah.
have to pee, and it's going to take me a few minutes to get up the stairs. I would like for you to put
Well,
on
hey,
that,
do you want to
the Tales of Murders and Deaths.
do you want to cut it, or you want to hang out for a little more? Or?
I mean, I can hang out. I got to take a little break because I got to stir my Moroccan meatballs.
Moroccan
Yeah, we
meatball.
got to talk about that.
Well, let's discuss that.
So I'm gonna
Okay, how
I'll
about-
get another beer, but I could talk for till like 7 my time. So that would be about
Alright,
11
well,
your time.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
we're at 11:11.
Or you
I
are
have
right now.
to-
Oh, I'm sorry. So
So
12.
it'd be midnight.
Yeah.
I have to pee, and I mean, you guys
Yeah,
can
let's just come back.
continue. My knee is
No, yeah, do your thing. We'll
my
be
knee
back
and my ankle
in-
and my foot is busted, so it's going
10
to take me a
minutes?
long
Cool.
time to get up and down.
Okay. I'll see you guys in a couple minutes.
All right, man. God, I wish I bought that horn.
Limited edition.
I know.
I mean, they had it. Scout had it for a while, but yeah, it's really good. All the Metalheads podcast guys got it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I know.
Lucky fucks. We went to where did we go? The Renaissance Fair, and they had a whole bunch of them, but they were like $130 or like $200.
Oh, yeah. Ours is actually a really good deal because I think we sold it for $75, but you also got a limited edition comic book, and the comic book goes for $40. So you're basically getting a horn for $35. Steal.
And it came with the stand also.
No,
you
the
had to
stand's
buy that
separate.
on Amazon.
Yeah. Everybody asked me about that on the Metalheads podcast. So I sent them a link, and now everybody has the same stand I have. It's made out of iron. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's cool. It's totally cool.
Yeah.
Followers.
So, do you think that there's going to be a Markisan universe where eventually you have, 5, 7, 10 of these books where you start integrating some of the characters?
I don't know. I haven't thought about that for the books that I've done so far. And of course they're at different companies. So I don't know, maybe I actually have had ideas for other companies on doing a plan for their books, where it would be a big event and they would involve all of the different characters. So I don't know if I would do that with my own books. We'll see. It's hard when you first start writing comic books. You're an indie creator. People don't know you, and you're going to write miniseries for the most part. So you're going to keep it pretty streamlined. You're not going to be that ambitious where you shouldn't be. If I get more well known or have more books out, it's possible I could do something like that. But I like right now, actually, I really like trying different genres. So I don't see how they would interconnect. Of course, I could figure out a way to do that, but
Maybe eventually, after you get known for a certain style, or
yeah, I mean, I love sci-fi. So, I mean, it seems like I keep gravitating towards sci-fi, and I have a lot of ideas for other sci-fi books, but I
it's
want to
really
do
weird. I have always, I guess, but I think it probably goes back to my childhood of I don't know. I guess not having cable not having TV,
Why you don't like MASH?
and like, yeah, like why I hate MASH, and I hate,
Never
like
even watched
Star
MASH.
like Star Trek and shit like that, was just because of my uh, life, my situational period at that time, I suppose, where it like kind of brings me back to like I fucking hate that shit, you know. Um, but lately during COVID, we don't go anywhere and we don't do anything, and so I've just been like obsessively watching movies, horror movies mostly, a lot of thrillers and suspense. And all this time, I have always hated sci fi because I always relate sci fi back to this weird time in my childhood where, like, I was forced by, my family members to watch, like, Star
Huh.
Trek.
That's
And I
weird
fucking
because the
hated
the
that shit.
greatest horror movie of all time is also a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, but
Wait, which one?
Alien.
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
mean that was totally scary, and I think
Yep.
what you're talking about comes, like we talk about a lot, like our nightmares, and my night. Well, I have two prominent nightmares.
I was gonna
One
say you
is
can't.
I just wake up in the middle of space, and I'm about to run out of air in a spacesuit, and I have no idea how I got there. The second one is I wake up at the bottom of the ocean and my ear's about to run out. And um, that one's a little different because all the fish have human faces with black eyeballs
Weird.
and they're mocking me. But
Oh.
right around the time that my oxygen is going to run out, and, in both scenarios, the pressure is going to disintegrate you. It's like going through a black hole and just being
Oh.
like like a
Oh.
worm.
I have a dream where I have diverticulitis. I slip on a wet deck and then I'm in a coma. So
Aha,
I don't know.
shit. Welcome to my world, motherfucker.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
weird. I
yeah.
have a reoccurring dream since I was a little kid. And every time I don't feel comfortable or safe, I go into this huge white room.
In the white room.
Yeah, it's weird. It's
Mm.
like a strange place I go when I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like I don't know.
You're
I'm not
like
safe,
Steve Winwood on an acid trip.
but it's not really like that. I go to this white room where everything is huge, but I'm tiny, but I'm huge too. In this, I think
Yeah.
it's quite cool.
Reminds me of a television show, Angel. I loved Buffy and Angel.
Oh, I love that
There's a
shit,
white
dude.
room
Yeah.
in the later
Love.
seasons.
Yeah, I haven't watched
Yeah.
that.
I actually
Oh,
kind of
so
like
good.
Angel more.
I do too.
Um,
I
yeah,
prefer Angel. It's
yeah.
because it's more grown up. Buffy is more high school, and I don't care. I didn't have that high school experience,
No, I
You
didn't
so
didn't?
either.
I don't care about being popular, like fitting in, or
Yeah, I
any of
didn't
that
have any of that
stuff.
either. That's probably why I never got into that show, I suppose, because that
Mhm.
wasn't my thing. I
Well, the
It's still
original movie
good.
with, well, you had Christy Swanson and Paul Rubens, but
The
then,
original movie was terrible.
thought we
yeah.
were talking about the series,
Well,
like
We're talking about the
I mean,
series. The series
yeah,
is
no,
good.
no, no.
Buffy the
I
Vampire
know. Yeah,
Slayer.
I was just
Yeah,
trying to give it some preface. But yeah, no, the series was
I
really
mean,
underrated.
I mean, I think people think of it as a seminal television show because you really didn't have a young heroine in television quite like that before. So I think it gets the respect it deserves. But yeah, I didn't. I love the show. Don't get me wrong. I felt like I identified more with Angel because they were more grown up. In Buffy,
Yeah,
they do grow up and they have other problems, but it's mostly set in high school. You know, Angel
yeah.
yeah,
is an old soul. That guy's been around a long time, so his
right.
concerns are different, which I think also made it interesting because here he falls in love with a high school girl who has a completely different mindset. She just has other problems that he doesn't, that are not concerns to him, and I
I
like that
never
part of it.
watched that. I don't think I ever watched Angel.
Yeah, what did you think of Alias when that came out?
Yeah, I liked Alias.
I
Yeah, that
did
was a good
too.
show.
I never watched that
Something
either.
about Jennifer Gardner, like, I don't know. It still
Oh,
felt isolated to me in that same way.
he just wants to bang her all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I liked
I don't want to
that
bang anything
secret
all the
kind of
time.
He loves
agent
it.
type stuff. I like Chuck better as a show. It has a similar premise, but Alias is really good.
What about Burn Notice?
I never watched that.
Well, it was Bruce Campbell.
Well, I
But
know of the show, but I mean, holy
Yeah.
shit, there's so many fucking shows.
It was
I can't-
terrible.
God.
It was Burn Notice was the worst. It was literally terrible.
I
Like
thought it was great.
it,
We just
it
watched a really
wasn't.
good miniseries on Netflix called Behind Her Eyes. You should watch
I watched
that.
that too.
You did. Oh, it was really
Oh
good.
fuck yeah! Well, I'm all about like the dreams and shit. And so she goes into this place where she's like lucid dreaming, and she goes and yeah, I totally watched it.
Oh,
It was-
astral projection, but
yeah, it was. And I watched another
Oh.
one about astral projection the other day.
That shit's hard. Like, if you've astral project. I did it once with confidence.
It's a strange place if you have if you take the time to focus and be able to actually astral project, you do go somewhere, and there is a very strange place that you go that most people really don't understand because it's not something that all people do. But it is creepy and it is freaky. And if you really try to teach yourself how to lucid dream, and be able to let yourself go into another place and have astral projection, it's pretty incredible. Um, I think the scariest thing of all of that is if you end up having where you're stuck, you're paralyzed.
Yeah, and I
That's
accidentally committed to
horrifying.
that, being in 2 comas where, after that, I, may or may not have taken copiates of different hallucinogens just to try and kind of understand where, and, but I can get back into the coma mind where, you kind of feel like you're dying in a way. I don't know. Anyway,
You do. It's really strange. I practice a lot of that stuff. It's kind of like what I do every single night is
Hmm.
to put myself in a place and practice on lucid dreaming and astral projection.
well, it's total detachment of the brain, and
But it's also a huge connection.
yeah,
And you go places and you see things that other people probably wouldn't believe that you
that's
see
kind of like
or that you go.
like when I was talking about the guy from Serpent's Oath, like, what is transhumanism? Is it if is this okay, or do you want to?
you can talk about whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
We can
Yeah.
cut it out.
When it comes to total forgiveness of like any kind of Christian ethos and what sexuality is, and what morality is, kind of like from a Jungian perspective. You start getting into this realm where what's the next stage of evolution. What I found cool about Serpent's Oath is, they're from the other side of the world, and as soon as they die, they've already invested their money into the whole band. Gets brought to the same cryogenic chamber that Michael Jackson has his body in. Like, they believe in that. Um, it's like that show Expanse, or
Oh, I love The
like,
Expanse.
yeah, I love that show.
I mean,
But
you
like,
can.
what's the next step in evolution? Like, is it detachment, or if you look at like Black Mirror, you're downloadable? I don't think that's good. But the
Well,
human
transhumanism
spirit,
it has to involve technology. Yeah. So
It
yeah,
would. It would have to involve technology. I don't think that that is necessary. I think that all people and all humans have, they all have the ability to move into the next dimension, open-hearted and able to go to the next place.
like
To,
Republicans, like
to
they could do that.
fuck. I hope not.
Sorry.
if they wanted to,
I think you
I
just
have to
die
know
and
that
that's
they.
it.
Yeah,
I mean,
like Matt Gates is so transcendent and is,
I mean,
you know,
everybody has the ability to do so, but most people aren't probably going to just do that on their own will. But have you ever heard of
I hope
sleep
I don't have
paralysis?
the ability because I don't need to be around more people. That's fine.
Well,
I'll
you
be.
don't have to be a person in the next dimension.
well, what do you think happens
Have you ever had?
after
Do you know
you
what?
die?
Do you know what sleep paralysis is?
Mahan.
Wait, what's the question?
Do you know what sleep paralysis is?
Well, that's one of the questions.
No, I don't know what that is.
So when you're like dreaming within like rapid eye movement, so you're dreaming really, really deeply, but you also tap into your own dreams as a awake conscious. So it becomes like a lucid dream where you kind of get to control it, but then you wake up, but you can't wake up, and then your body is completely paralyzed, and you're like stuck in between worlds where you're like in a dream state, but you're open and your eyes are open,
Well, that
but your
sounds
body is
terrible.
completely paralyzed. It's horrifying.
Oh yeah.
Look it
I,
up, dude. It's scary. It's horrifying. It's only happened to me a handful of times, but it is
I don't think that can
horrifying.
happen to me because well, I won't let anything take control. Like I will
Oh
be the
yeah,
dominant presence. So
Yeah,
it's scary. It's I've had it
but
happen
that's
to me,
weird.
and it is terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying.
I think that's more when you're muddied up and you know you have that internal guilt trip of something. But what I asked is like, what do you think happens when you die? Like as far as the spirit goes, like what?
I don't think it goes anywhere. I think you just die. I think that's it.
I
Yeah,
think it's
That's
just
all. So
black.
that's why I try to do as much as I can on this in this life. I don't. I think it's just it.
hmm.
I'm okay with that.
I'm
I don't
okay with
know.
that too.
I mean,
I just
if we're like energy and it goes out, maybe in some ways it goes out into the universe and then it gets reestablished. But I don't think you would ever know that. There's people who think that you're going to be reincarnated and all that. And people say they remember it, but I don't think you would because you would be in a completely different state.
Consciousness.
well, I think the
But
only people that really project that they know what they were always famous people. And I would guess like 37 to 43% of them are cult leaders.
No, most people
that's,
that remember being reincarnated
sorry,
are
that's my printer.
very young children.
My printer decided to clean. I have no idea why.
Oh,
Well, I wish my printer would clean some
yeah.
bullshit.
There's some kind of transhumanism going on here.
Well,
There really
I
isn't
think I've
evidence of
told.
anything.
I think it was the last podcast. I don't know if I'm accurate, but my religion has always been the movie The Highlander.
Okay.
You know, where you
Yeah.
just
You
kind
believe
of
in the
live
quickening
through.
then?
I do. Yeah, I totally do.
I've got you in my sights. There can be only
That was
one.
perfect.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. I think
Oh, that was
in that
good.
movie and with Sean Connery at the end of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves,
Mhm.
I think he got paid like $1 million just to show up on that horse at the end of Prince of Thieves.
Probably.
Yeah.
Sean Connery's the shit. Well, was.
Wait, did he die or is he still alive?
I think he just died recently, maybe in the last year.
I really don't know.
think
I know he
died.
retired from acting, so that's why I haven't heard anything.
I
But
do think he
Yeah.
died, but I mean, the last 2 years of COVID have made me feel like I'm dead myself. So
Not
it,
not if he's birth
it
quick
could
to
be.
There's no way. No, he's still on
he's not. Oh man.
Well, hey man, it's 11:42. I don't want to keep you. It was and I'll be honest, like I said, this is the second time that we had to redo an interview, and the first one was Paris Mayhew with Will. So
Well, this one went well. Hopefully, I don't know if it recorded, but it sounds good.
I hope so. The last one was so good. We had so much fun. And at the end of the conversation, we're like, all right, well, we'll edit that. We'll edit that. And you're like, no, don't edit that. We had so much, we didn't want to edit anything.
Yeah.
We had just a blast. So
It's true. Yeah, I had fun talking to you guys. I think you actually asked me more questions about the book in the last one, which is weird because we were
so.
probably drunk. And this one, we just went all over the place.
Well, also, we had like notes and stuff. Like we had like we had notes and stuff. They're like, all right, you gotta ask this. We're gonna talk about this. This time, like, it's our
Yeah.
second time doing it, so we're just like, oh, shoot.
the only people that listen to are like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
Astral projection and wet decks.
Transhumanism and comics.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
It's
Oh my
bananas.
God, I don't want to hear about this guy's intestinal problems.
I
It was
know.
ridiculous. Oh my god! I'm so
I was
sorry.
totally trying to get laid.
Dude, I like coming on just to talk and hang out. So
I like it too. We wanted you to come on the last one. It was so last minute. Who did we have?
Oh, Kincaid.
Yeah, Kincaid.
Whatever.
That
I'll
was a
just send you a
blast
list
anyways.
of people. Next week we're doing the gentleman that wrote the autobiography on Dan Lofer.
oh, interesting.
Yeah. And
I don't know. We're doing the Metalheads podcast soon. I don't remember what it is. I think it's the 24th, maybe? Yep.
All right. Well,
So-
we'll let you know when our next one is. We'll give you a heads up, like at least a week.
yeah, whenever you
So
want to
that-
drop in.
Yeah, we would love for you to drop in every time. We love having you. You're just awesome
Oh,
to talk to. And you're
thank
fun
you.
to hang out
Appreciate it.
with. Even if
I
we
like
don't
talking
have
to you guys,
anything
too.
to talk about.
I mean, I
We
always
don't
have stuff to
anything
talk about.
I just like to sit and chill.
Yeah,
with
you do. You're amazing.
Oh, listen, I want to hear about the next accident. So
Well, hopefully there isn't one.
I hope so too.
Yeah, that'd be preferable.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys should go to bed. I got to eat dinner soon.
All right,
I get
man.
to eat dinner. All right.
Love ya.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
See you guys.
This is the Metalheads Podcast.
Yeah, Ben.
Oh my god. Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening to Dead Letter Emissions. Markisan, have a good night. Thank
Love
you.
you.
Cool. See you
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Bye.